Sathyam Sivam Sundaram, Volume 3, Chapter 6, The Festival of Lights. Sri Aurobindo writes in the Synthesis of Yoga, the Guru should awaken the divine light and set working the divine force. Baba awakened the divine light in every heart. He lit the lamps. He, the divine, aroused the divine force. When Baba started on 20th October from Anantapur towards Dharwar, from where he was scheduled to begin his week-long tour of the district of North Mysore, someone asked him, "This is sure to be a memorable tour. What shall we call it?" Baba immediately replied, Amar Puriya Ananda Yatri, heavenly tour of bliss. Yes, he had decided on it. He was directing it. He was the host and the guest everywhere. He was the goal and the guide. No wonder it brought heavenly bliss to millions of people. When his car and the others that followed it passed Bellary, the first town in Mysore state, good news spread around, gladdening the hearts of all who heard it, and they in turn communicated it to their near and dear ones. The news flashed with lightning speed in every direction. It was eve of Deepavali, the festival of light, and news lit the lamp in every heart. The light spread doorstep to doorstep throughout the region. At Gadag, there were many who had received signs of his grace and who were gratefully adoring his name and form. They inspired many others, and thus a sizable gathering with flowers in their hand assembled at the entrance of the town, so as to not miss the chance of darshan. Passing through Hulkoti and Annagiri, where devotees stood on both sides of the road singing bhajans in the hope that Baba would stop and perhaps alight for a moment, Baba reached the outskirts of the busy city of Hubli, where the mayor of the corporation and about 3,000 citizens acclaimed his arrival. The mayor prayed for his blessing so that Hubli could be happy, healthy, and prosperous. Dharwar was only 12 miles away. While entering the city, Principal Dharwarkar and Elurite population of Vijayagiri Hill of Culture, a complex of many colleges and training institute, cheered him at the gate. Baba reached the university area and the Vice Chancellor bungalow at 9:30 p.m. Dr. Appa Saheb Atke, PE, PhD, the Vice Chancellor and organizer of the tour, has been ill ever since his visit to Australia in connection with university work. I thought it was a simple affair drafting the program of his tour, but there were such a sincere pressure from all corners of the region that I became perplexed. Realizing this quandary, Baba came to my rescue. He said that he will settle it himself at Darbar. Dr. Atke told me. I was very ill when Baba came to Darbar, but his arrival charged me with vitality. I am more vigorous than usual since that moment, he declared. He could hardly contain himself. No one could restrain him and remind him to be careful of his health. Baba gave darshan to the thousands that had assembled from far and near that night as well as next morning in the spacious lawns of the bungalow. He met the office bearers of Seva Smitis at 4 p.m. and quickly decided on the dates and routines which he would use for the tour. That evening there was a huge gathering of at least 20,000 to listen to his discourse. Dr. Atke welcomed Baba to Karnataka and said, "This university has today gained glory from this precious gift of grace. We deal here with materials and measurements, things that change, originate, and degenerate. We are concerned with collection and codification of intellectual processes of analysis and synthesis. But alas, we do not earn or confer wisdom. Our hearts are petrified, our brains have become books. Sri Rama awakened the stone that Ahilya had become through her craving for the trivial and temporary. When his foot touched that stone, she was restored to life, beauty, and goodness. We too deserve that divine touch. Awaken us, Baba. Restore us to the life of truth, beauty, and goodness of Sathyam Sivam Sundaram. Dr. Gokak, who had years of intimate association with the city of Dharwar and Karnataka University, called upon his compatriots to offer to Baba the multifarious anxieties, worries, and weaknesses, defects, and disabilities that were then weighing heavily on their hearts, and receive from him in exchange assurance of grace which grants instant relief and constant joy. Baba began his discourse in Kannada language. It was an unexpected thing of compassion. It arose in applause for each man, woman, and child when they realized Baba's immeasurable prema towards them has persuaded him to speak for the first time in language they could comprehend. It echoed and re echoed from the hills around. Kasturi is not here. I have to speak to you without an interpreter. I have contacts with Kannada regions since 25 years, but this is the first time I am addressing a gathering in Kannada. You praise your language, extolling it as Kasturi, fragrant as musk. I hope I will not injure that reputation, Baba said. His prema is so overpowering that he takes the words out of our mouths so that he can convey his message to us in a way that we can receive with welcoming enthusiasm. His first venture into Kannada lasted for over an hour and a half, the diction and exposition being as sweet and savory as the Telugu, which is his usual vehicle. People of Dharwar were thrilled. Oh, the delight that he imparted! Oh, the illumination that he granted! How fast is the flow of his Ganga! These were exclamations that filled the university atmosphere. After the discourse, Baba sang few bhajan songs, which the vast assembly sang after him in chorus. The songs were in praise of God in a variety of names and forms as visualized by saints Shiva, Rama, Shakti, Krishna, Subramanya, Vishnu. The sacred songs sung by Baba in his flute like voice filled everyone with supreme elation, and there was genuine response. Many in the gathering were staunch and stalwart followers, Greek which stick only to one name and form. Ordinarily, they would have felt it a sacrilege to pronounce in reverence, much less sing in adoration, another name and form, though the scripture they follow declare that one God has many names. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuta Vadanti. They grow in social atmosphere that insists on concentration on one name only, so that their faith may be fractionalized and enfeebled. Therefore, the bhajans of Baba came as a refreshing breeze, cleansing the hearts of fanatic conformity and sweeping out the cobweb of fear. Only Baba can overpower the habit of years and invoke in our hearts this spring of expansive joy, they exclaimed. Baba taps the very fountain of the religious urge, whether a person be a man or a woman, young or old, Hindu, Buddhist, Parsi, Christian, Jain, or Muslim, or even agnostic, nihilist, or anarchist. From that day, the schedule laid down for the tour was rigorously gone through. Baba addressed a huge gathering at Vijayagiri, the quadrangle of Arts College. He planted a tree to keep his visit green in the memory of generations of students. He created a sapphire ring and gave it to the principal Dharwarkar. Then he spoke about development of discipline and earning of character. My message is this: be embodiment of prema. Do not hate anyone or fear anyone. Develop love towards all. Understand the grief and the joy of others. Be happy when others are happy. Don't exult when others are in misery. Learn even while you are learning good attitude and habits, the art of silence and meditation, for example. These will help you to succeed in School of Living. This is the most precious lesson available from Sanatana Dharma, which me assure you, which let me assure you, will be re-established in all glory throughout the world, so that the world might have peace and prosperity. That is the mission upon which I have come. From Vijayagiri, Baba motored to Hubli, where a mammoth assembly was spilling over the Karnataka Medical College buildings, yearning to have his darshan and to listen to his discourse. The good tidings that Baba was speaking in Kannada had spread to Hubli and beyond. All ears were alert to catch the speech and treasure it. Today is Deepavali when you consume sweets, but the component that sweetens every dish is sugar. So too the article that bestows the characteristics of existence, that is, knowledge, it can be known, and Ananda, it confers joy on everything and being, is the Atma, which when name bound and form bound is God. He advised the students not to give way to gust of anger or resentment, but to use reason, a unique asset of man, to discriminate between alternative remedies. The word mantra can be applied to slogans also. The mantra has to be subjected to manan, deep reflection. So too every slogan has to be weighed in scale of reason. Since there were many students of the medical college before him, Baba said, for a four-letter degree you spend best part of your life. For attaining the degree of degrees, namely grace, can you not spend at least 5 minutes a day contemplating silently on the mystery and majesty of God, which is evident in the construction, the functioning, and the disintegration of every atom and cell? On the 23rd, Baba proceeded along the Sirsi road to the west coast, leaving Darbar at 9 a.m. Baba neared the village of Mundagad 40 minutes later. The highway passes only through few villages, for in this part of the country houses are situated not on streets, but they peep furtively in twos and threes from between huge bushes and trees, in plantations or forests. So people from as far as 20 to 25 miles away from the road had trekked to Mundagod for the coveted darshan of avatar of the age. There were more than 4,000 simple peasant and plantation laborers there. Their eyes got a glint of joy when Baba moved among them and granted the curative vibhuti created on the spot to the three broken minds which he espied in their midst. Baba spoke few words to them about Namasmaran and Bhajan. He sang three bhajans so that they could feel the exhilaration that bhajan could give, and the gathering did their best to repeat the lines in tune and his entrancing melody. From then on, the road was sanctified every few hundred yards by song and dance. At Malagi, Ikambi, Isamul, and Gordali, the sincerity of the villagers was appreciated by Baba so much that he alighted from the car, stood facing the disciplined throng from a few minutes, so that they may imprint his form on their hearts, just as they have already inscribed his name on their tongue. Dr. Atki writes, whenever he noticed a gathering on the roadside, Baba used to stand on the footboard of the car with the door open. People pressed upon the door in their frantic attempt to get as near as possible and touch his feet. But wonder of wonders, the door did not move even in an inch. Hundreds pushed through themselves forward on the door that was well ajar, but it stood firm without even a shiver. At the stroke of 11, Baba entered the premises of Satya Sai Seva Smiti at the Gopal Krishna Temple at Sirsi. He had said casually on the 21st that he would be reaching Sirsi at 11 a.m. People wondered how the clock had obeyed him so meticulously. Just outside the town, tens of thousands had gathered to welcome him. Dr. Adke writes, he would not bear the suffering of people waiting in the hot sun. He told the gathering that if they start bhajan, clouds will gather overhead to provide cool shade, and the clouds did. He quoted profusely from the vachanas of Basavanna and other Veera Saiva poets and mystic, and captured the heart of vast assembly. Love is God. Live in God. Start the day with love. Fill the day with love. End the day with love. You have attached yourself with me by bond of love. I am in all beings, so have the same love for all. He reminded them. Baba said, see the effect of singing of the name. If a few minutes of Namasmaran could confer this much grace, how much more can you gain by constant, unrepeated Namasmaran? The yearning which you cultivated in your mind for my darshan has fructified today. I am happy to share my love. May this give and take become a continuous process. When Baba ascended from the dais, there was not a dry eye among the 40,000 before him. Tears of gratitude and ecstasy were visible. Baba returned to Gopala Krishna Temple, looked at the exhibition of photographs of himself and his activities. He moved from thence without even the rest that many pleaded with him to take on the next leg of the tour towards Karwar on the shores of Arabian Sea. The road was walled on both sides by thick masses of pilgrims, standing in eager expectation. One could read the name boards of the village: Janmane, Kasegi, Kathagala, Hiragutti. In many places, yielding to the silent importunity, Baba alighted for a minute or two to bless the crowd with a smile, and that was immediately reflected on every face. At Ankola, the importunity became a little too boisterous, and so Baba moved on with just a wave of his hand, which itself was to them a comforting gesture of blessing. The small village of Avarsa presented a clean, festive appearance with festoons and banners, arches, and greenery across the road. The assembly of over 5,000 persons was a model of disciplined devotion. Baba spent a long time walking along the lanes between men and women and seeking out for succor the sick and the distressed, winning the affectionate loyalty of all by this gesture of compassion. Baba ascended the rostrum and spoke about the truth of identity, now ridden by the falsehood of diversity. The truth shall make you fearless, for where there is only one, how can fear arise? He said, the name for that one is God. Remind yourself of the one. When you rise from bed, recollect that one. During the vocations of the day, establish the faith in the one in the heart when you go to sleep, so that when the senses, the intellect, and the imagination were inactive, the one might fill you and favor you with the bliss of its realization, he advised. The aversions were not disappointed. They feared signs of hurry among the entourage. Karwar was waiting, miles away since afternoon. But Baba sang, filled the cup of joy to the very brim. The vast expanse of water on each side, this vast expanse of humanity on the other, and this vast expanse of grace in between. That is how Baba described the scene on the marina that day. That is the Ganga, this is the Yamuna, and my grace, which is silently gurgling within your heart, is Saraswati, Baba declared, sending the 25,000 devotees assembled there into the seventh heaven of bliss. This meeting should have become hours earlier. This meeting should have begun hours earlier, but the serried ranks of devotees standing on the road shared that time with me. I gave it to them on your behalf, for they too are Atma Swarupa, having the same Atma illuminating and inspiring them, instructing and guiding them towards the Paramatma. Their gratitude is your gain, Baba announced. The wave whispered into the ears of seashells how happy they were that they could be silent when Baba sang bhajans for Karwar to echo in full throated exhilaration. Night was spent in the bungalow of the collector, from where one could see the wave crest shimmering in the starlight. Next morning, Baba went into the Sita Rameshwar temple, which is to Karwar as heart to the body, and from there he drove to the suburb settlement of Kodibag, where deft and devoted hands had erected a temple for the previous body and carved a statue for installation. The joy of the settlement dwellers knew no bound that it was indeed a revealing ceremony, the installation by Baba and the homage from them to the Sai actually present before them. From Kodibag, Baba went along the coastal road to where the motor launch was to take the party, cars and all across the tongue of sea that is yet to be bridged. The Kali River joins the sea at this point, and so the tongue tastes no salinity. Baba drew the attention of Dr. Adke, his son Manohar, and others in the launch of the pearly aquamarine, which the sea was a furlong away. Baba remarked, crossing the sea of Sansar, be confident of victory, since Master is with you. Why fear when I am near? Retrieving the cars from the launch, the journey was resumed fast when the state of Goa was entered. It was about 10. About half an hour later, they reached Margao, where two aspirants for grace were ready in their thousands. It was difficult to restrain them from their yearning to touch the lotus feet, and so Baba found it rather hard to reach the platform soon. His abounding love overcame the resentment that mortals might have felt under similar circumstances. He walked coolly among the excited gathering. He recognized a sick person and materialized a portrait of Christ for him, for he knew, though it was not evident for others, that he was Christian. He created Vibhuti, placed it in hands of another person whom they guessed was a Hindu, though the curative wonder can well be given to followers of all creeds. Baba spoke for about 20 minutes on the three gunas, the dull, the passionate, and the balanced, and how man can liberate himself from the apathy of tamas and reach the enthusiasm of rajas, and finally attain the equipoise of sattva guna. Then Baba moved on to the capital city of Goa, Panaji. The Smiti at Panaji had arranged a public meeting which Baba was to address in Vivekananda Hall on the upper floor of the Secretariat buildings. No hall on the earth can accommodate in comfort the audience that draws to himself in any town. He had said often that the sky shall be the roof of the Shamiana for the assemblies he addressed. Therefore, the inevitable happened. A large sector was denied the chance of darshan. Baba spoke for some time and sang bhajans which delighted those in the hall. Those who heard the discourse and melody from outside said, "Better luck next time. Thanks at least for this much." And this was the consolation of the thousands who could not get into the hall. Dr. Artke writes, "When we were nearing Goa, the springs of the Fiat car we were damaged, but when I suggested getting another car for onward journey, Baba told me, 'We shall drive in this car only.' The road from Goa to Belgaum runs through thick forest and ghats and was also breached by rain. We started from Goa late in the evening and reached Belgaum at 9. How we reached the destination without a breakdown is a mystery that Baba alone can explain. We knew that it was Baba's grace that brought the party safe. At Belgaum, Baba went straight into the enormous gathering of about 70,000 persons waiting for darshan. Belgaum is a big city. Baba is the supreme savior. Satya Sai Seva Smiti had taken elaborate precautions against any stampede. They had put up barricades of tough bamboo to sectionalize the gatherings and provide vacant path in between for Baba to walk along and confer darshan from within a few feet for all. When intimation was received that Baba had come, they rose in haste and rushed towards where they sensed he was. The home guards, the volunteers, men and women, the boy scouts, and the member of Samiti sprang into action and curbed the excited crowd as best as they could. Meanwhile, Baba had come on the dais. His golden voice floated in ever widening circles far and wide. Everyone stood where he was and drank the ambrosia. Each man turned towards the place from where the call had come. Sri Narke, an engineer who was of the party, says, Bhagawan raised his hand. Every man was fixed to the spot where he stood. Bhagawan's hand came down. They sat silently wherever they were. I couldn't leave I couldn't leave Goa in time. There was eager groups of devotees waiting at every village, whether we passed through jungle or bald fallow waste. How can I ignore their tremendous thirst? Baba said. I borrowed a little time from you and gave it to them, he confessed. The gathering became gentle and calm. Having joined this uplifting gathering of thousands of seekers of light, eager to cleanse themselves and become worthy of their divine destiny, you have a responsibility. Try to realize that you are fundamentally divine. Practice meditation for few minutes every day to instill this faith into yours, he advised. The boulder on the hill turns into an idol for the temple. Hammer and chisel have made it a thing of beauty and joy forever, a perpetual source of inspiration to render life wholesome and holy. You too must subject yourself to the hammer of discipline and chisel of pleasure pain, so that you emerge from the boulder into an authentic image of God, he exalted. I have been touring Karnataka since 5 days. I wish to emphasize one point now. Thousands of people are attending such meeting. Thousands more are waiting along the roads. In the heart of every one of them, I know sincere adoration is welling up towards God. but adoration must be regulated through discipline. It should not be wild and untended. You rush forward to touch my feet or to prostrate before me, regardless of any consideration for women, children, the aged, and the sick. You fall upon them when you press forward towards me. Do not injure the sign in those people when you rush towards this sign to demonstrate your devotion, the merit and the austerity you undergo to see and hear this sign is well nigh cancelled when you inflict pain on sign who resides in them, he said. Many bowed their heads in repentance and shame. Cultivate love, tolerance, and reverence towards the weak, the handicapped, the distressed, and the diseased. Give them your compassion and sympathy. Serve them, sensing the divine bond of kingship, Baba directed. Baba resumed the tour next morning, taking the road of Bijapur, the headquarters of another district in North Karnataka. Within miles, he lighted at Bali Hongal, where devoted hearts prayed for the triple gift of darshan, samdarshan, and sambhashan. Seeing him, touching him, and listening to him, he conferred on them the first and the last of these only, for there were thousands so early in the day. Baba spoke to them of inner purification and awareness of constant presence of God as means to ensure it. Throughout the day, miles after miles, it was bhajan and kirtan all along the road to Bijapur. The villagers waited, watching the car that passed along for hours at a stretch during bhajans. They halted every scooter and truck to find out whether Baba had started and was on the way. Some villagers got ready a folk welcome with traditional drum and dances. Some brought out long brass horns, which they blew loud and long to awaken the countryside into the glorious day. Some paraded the temple umbrella and persuaded temple priests to stand across the road with ceremonial pots of holy water in their hand and Vedic chants on their tongues. There were police cars before and behind the cars of the party, where the officers tried to regulate the enthusiasm of village gatherings. They themselves were not above the temptation to seize as many chances as they could to touch his feet. Baba halted for about an hour at Gokak at noon and proceeded apace to Bijapur, the journey being interrupted every mile by yearning of one side and compassion on other. For those who were with Baba in the same car, it was a boon of unstinted ecstasy. Baba sang many songs, asked all else to sing bhajans, prompted one or two to compose poems on the spot about the epic unfolding before their eyes. Thus, as the rolled away fast from underneath the car, they lost all sense of time and space. At Bijapur, the gathering was packed thick for miles, writes Dr. Artke. I made bold to suggest to Baba this meeting has to be cancelled. It's impossible to go through this item of the tour. Let us go to the next place. Baba said no. At least 75,000 people were surging impatiently over the roads and open spaces. Dr. Artke writes, Baba went straight into that sea of agitated confusion. Everyone was nervous about the situation, but soon we saw him safe on the dais under the blaring lights and before the microphone. As soon as Baba started singing the usual introductory verse, every man, woman, and child was enchanted. The waves were stilled, quiet prevailed, and we were relieved. For what purpose were you born? What has been your achievement in the years that you have spent as men among men? What are you intending to leave behind when you die? Baba asked the vast gathering. Vinita Ramachandra Rao, who was the party, writes, we have heard that when Krishna played on the flute, even thousand hooded snake lay low. But Baba spoke in that captivating voice, even though his opening sentence was so challenging to their self complacence and indolence. The 75,000 hooded snake lay calm, punched in self examination. Baba advised each one to cultivate love, for love is the motivator of the universe. Love is God, and love alone can win the grace of God and merge man in God. When Baba spoke of the efficacy of bhajan and sang a few songs, the assembly yielded without reservation to the magic of his flute. All the higher tendency sprouted, foliated, put forth buds, and blossomed in the heart. Everyone felt a thrill, the thrill of cosmic awareness. Spending the night at the circuit house, Baba rose early and was ready to fulfill the engagement he had planned for the day. A score of minutes ticked away as they drove forward. They were surprised to see across the road a pandal of green and yellow creepers and festoons, flags, and garlands on the ground above. About 100 people singing Prashanti Nilayam bhajans. Let us listen to Dr. Adke describing what happened. They besieged Baba to drive into their village, which was only 2 miles off. They said they had prepared the road and made it car worthy. They promised they would be quiet and disciplined. They announced that villagers were longing for his visit. I was anxious about correct execution of the busy timetable already laid down for the day, but Baba said, well, we shall go and be with them for 5 minutes. The car traversed the clean, dustless road which they had sprinkled thick with water into the village. As cars passed, lamps waved, women scattered flowers on the car. The men blew horns and beat big drums. Bells on the neck of cattle tingled as they stood on the side with red paint on their horns. Baba was happy to see the villagers sitting with the surge of joy, lending luster to their eye. He sang few bhajans, encouraging the assembly to sing them after him without hesitation and fear. Baba drove back to the main road only after spending about 40 minutes there. It was one continuous flood of devotion, fertilizing the entire area, entering into every home, every heart, arousing man, woman, and child. Baba could not bear to see that people sitting or standing in the sun, nor could he allow them to be glum and cheerless. While moving from Bijapur to Bagalkot, Baba sang a large number of songs in Kannada to the delight of Vice Chancellor, his son, and others. He sang songs composed of famous medieval Kannada saints Purandara Das and Kanaka Das. He described the story of Kanaka Das at Urdupi, where the idol of Krishna installed by Madhvacharya turned around in order to give the shepherd saint Kanakadas darshan he longed for. For Kanakadas was not admitted into the temple since he was a person of inferior caste. Baba also sang some songs composed by him on the spot in Kannada. It was a glorious hour for lovers of that language and seekers longing for the divine. Passing through places like Karur where devotees fed their eyes on him, Baba reached Nargund and saw about 12,000 people gathered there from all villages around and even from Hubli and Darbar, which were hours away by car. He told them of the immanence of God in the universe and said that only a pure intelligence can recognize that fact, just as only one tongue among all the limbs and organs of the body can recognize salt dissolved in water. Passing through wavy field of grass and grain, fondled by soft caresses of stray breezes, Baba reached Navalgund in the evening. The sea of faces sat before him in disciplined silence, and Baba spoke to them and sang for them in plentiful compassion. The objective world is ever changeful. It is fistful and flickering, but Atma is eternal, adamant, unaffected by time, space, and causation, which are only modification it is supposed to undergo. Ekam eva advityam Brahma. One only, without a second, is Brahma. To become aware of the one which has no second, you must practice the five disciplines of mantra, namasmaran, yoga, dhyana, and samadhi. Just as a music and musician eminent in the ether as waves projected by broadcasting stations are caught and made manifest by the receiver and its many contrivances, God, who is present but unmanifest to the eye or mind, can be realized and recognized through these contrivances, Baba explained. The sun must have travelled slower than usual that day, for Baba was able to reach Hulkoti at 6 p.m. after a halt at Annagiri on the way, to receive flowers and shower blessings on a huge gathering on the roadside. There was a record crowd of eager devotees at Hulkoti, and Baba gave them darshan as well as assurance of his continuing grace. Then he left for Gardak, a city famous since centuries for Veera Narayana Temple, immortalized in Kannada poetry and at present a great center of commerce and industry. Gardak astounded everybody by enormity of the number of people who assembled there to revere Baba. There were over 100,000. Shri K.H. Patil, who welcomed Baba, said, "The doors of heaven have opened this day before Ghatak. The light of spirit is resplendent once again in the ancient city. Baba spoke of the Vedic prayer, which summarizes the aspiration of man since the beginning of his history on earth. From unreal, lead me to real. Tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. From darkness, lead me to light. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. From death, lead me to immortality." He said that distinction is unreal, egoism is darkness, desire is death. So man must become aware of the one of which he is a spark of, the one which is all in this and more, the one who fulfills and fulfills all. The bhajans that Baba sang and which the voices repeated cleared the sky of the vibrations of multiplicity and filled it with isness and of one Rama, Krishna, Shakti, Shiva, Vishnu. All were integrated in melody of that music of the masses, offered at the feet of Sai at his bidding and in tune with his cosmic voice. When Darbar was reached, lights in most of the houses had been extinguished, and cows were dozing on the road, chewing the day's fast eaten cud. When the sun rose next day over the horizon, the calendar showed October 27th as the date, and Baba was as fresh as the sun, who showed no tinge of tiredness, however long the journey, however monotonous the route, however fulsome the acclamation offered to him in however many languages, however gladly he is welcomed in however many languages, however many millions. He was aware of his mission and as unassuming in its performance as the sun. But others of the party who were mere men aroused his pity. He persuaded Dr. Artke, his son, and others to take rest in spite of their disinclination. As for himself, he spent the day visiting the homes of devotees at Hubli and Darbar, for as Baba has often said, your Ananda is what sustains me. Me Anand me na aharamu. When Baba visits a home, however short the day, he leaves it a heaven of peace and love. Often he goes alone into the house in order that the devotee may not be distracted by need to attend to the companions. He persuades the devotees not to indulge in pompous receptions and invest in exhibitionistic decorations, exotic garlands, expensive feasts, or quick publicity among kinsmen and friends. He comes as our nearest and dearest kinsman, arriving after a long absence to bless, heal, enrich, alleviate, console, and correct, confer courage and conviction, and confirm the consummation of spiritual aspiration. He fondles the children, recognizes even slightest gesture of homage, remembers the name of everyone in the family, relates incidents unknown or forgotten, promises relief and leaves everyone grateful. When gloom hung thick, he installs joy. Where the musty air of sickness was repelling, he brings fresh fragrance of health and hilarity. His visit to a home closes the chapter of disease, despair, distress, and doubt and opens another tingling with joy and cheer, peace and goodwill, vigor and vibrant harmony. Monday the 28th, it was to reach Brindaban that evening, and so he drove along the Hubli Davangere road, lightening the faces and lightening the hearts of the residents of those villages and towns adjacent to that road. Hangkol was the first place where a gathering had collected under the auspices of Satya Sai Seva Samiti. And what a gathering! The wide expanse of a football field packed thick, at least 25,000 in number. Baba spoke of Indian culture, of the word Bharat, of the syllable bha, which he interpreted as light, the light of spiritual realization, the light that reveals the identity of all as God. He said that his heart was filled with joy at the love that had induced them to wait for his darshan for hours since early dawn. Extend this love towards all, for I am in all, he suggested. Devotion to me is to be expressed through service, love, and cooperation, and by refraining from scandal, mongering, fault finding, and hatred, he emphasized. When he sang few bhajans towards the close, harmony ranged and distraction disappeared from the inner and outer atmosphere. Karjigi was the next place where Baba blessed the people. Then Baba visited the holy village of Agadi, renowned as the hermitage of the late saint Seshachala Swami. Saints and sages are the sappers and miners, the road makers, the surveyors, the bridge builders who prepare for the avatar. Baba was received at the entrance to the shrine by women waving lamps and Vedic scholars chanting hymns of prayers and supplication. He moved among the vast congregation which was engaged in bhajan, later spoke to them of the efficacy of the name and discipline of constant repetition of the name. The stream of cars bringing redemption and relief was delayed a while at Haveri. Baba went to the Grama Seva Mandap, the home of village reconstruction, and addressed the gathering composed of students of the agriculture and other colleges of the place. He drew their attention to the setting of natural beauty and grandeur where they had met and said that it was a heritage which all can share. You have another heritage which all can share, and that is the grace of God, he said. He advised them to learn well at college and also learn the art of being at peace with themselves and others through Namasmaran and Bhajan. When Baba sang bhajans, about a dozen sleek cows of the mandap were seen listening with a glint in the eye and a tingle in the ear. There was an enceinte cow in the group. The calf hurried out into the world in its eagerness to listen to the voice of Brindavan. At Rane Binur, Baba laid the foundation stone of Art and Science College and proceeded to Cotton Market, where 25,000 devoted persons were awaiting darshan. Let your word be charged with truth. Let your deed be charged with sincerity. Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara. Talk in truth, walk in righteousness. That is the way to reach the goal and find it, Baba advised. The vast gathering got an hour of bliss through word and song that day. Baba motored from Rane Binur through lanes of devotees that thronged the road to Harihar, where he alighted from the car and gave darshan for a few minutes, and from Davangiri, Chitradurg, Sira, Tumkur to Brindavan, carrying with him the love and rapturous devotion of the millions his grace had captivated. Dr. Artke writes, I had a good fortune of being with Baba and witnessing the grateful joy of people everywhere and the happiness of Baba at their sincerity and simplicity. I was able to go as far as Whitefield near Bangalore, where Brindavan is, and take leave of Baba from there. When I left, Baba said, Do not think you are going back alone. I am with you. Let us both go together. This is the measure of His love, His omnipresence, His omnipotence, His divinity. The adoration offered to Baba and the attention with which huge gatherings at every place, whether it be a hamlet or village, a city of colleges or of factories, a historic spot or a place of pilgrimage, treasured his words of hope and promise, are eye openers to those who plan for the future. They reveal that people are eminently responsive to the call of spirit towards the higher life, and that the fascination for shortcuts and artificial props to happiness cannot withstand the charm of the divine directive of Baba. Baba began this tour on Deepavali, the day where India celebrates the festival of lights. Sri Aurobindo writes in the synthesis of yoga, the Guru should awaken the divine light and set working the divine force. Baba awakened the divine light in every heart. He lit the lamp. He, the divine, aroused the divine force. Om Sai Ram. End of chapter 6.